Okay, ready? Three, oh, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to a special episode of Bitches Love Sports. Yes, it is 11:30 in the morning, and yes, I am live, and no one is in the chat, which is totally fine. Um, shout out to the people who normally show up. Shout out to Clement. Shout out to JV. If y'all see this late, my apologies. This was planned, I won't say last minute, but on relatively short notice. We'll put it that way. So I'm here with Mr. Terrence Parsons. How's it going?
Good.
Good. So normally I start off with a TLDR, which is basically me going over a current event, something that's going on in a short, like just in a succinct way. So this issue is about as succinct as I think we can get it, which is the issue of CeeDee Lamb's celebration, the nose wipe, being banned by the NFL. Have you heard about that? What did you hear about it?
From what I heard is they banning it for what? What is it?
They're saying it's a
Gang
violent
sign?
gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody did say that it was a gang sign. Now, y'all, I have not read the official transcripts from any of the NFL meetings. However, there have been reports that it's been called a gang sign. There have been reports that it's been called a violent gesture. From what I've been able to see in the official ruling, CeeDee Lamb's celebration, the nose wipe, which you say you've seen several people do this, right?
Yeah.
I only know CD does it, but apparently I almost want to say caught up to the fact that it's a violent gesture because there were no issues with it prior to this offseason, I don't think. But the meaning, to my knowledge, hasn't changed, right?
I guess. I haven't really heard too much on the gang sign, but I mean, you could say it's a violent gesture in a way. You know what I mean? Let's say somebody got his nose wiped, but you know what I mean. I think it's a celebration. No harm, no foul.
I think that's how we look at a lot of things. There always seems to be like a discrepancy, maybe because of the demographic of who's making the decisions for the NFL versus the people who are being entertained by some of the things the players do. But let me see if I can pull back up for you guys the official wording of the rules because it was actually quite interesting. And so we'll talk about that real quick, and then we'll go into some more conversations with. It's actually more y'all in here than I expected, which is not saying a lot, but I legit didn't expect any of y'all to show up. I love you guys so much. I have the best audience ever. Y'all are the dopest. So the actual, I'm telling y'all, technology. So the actual wording of the rules. This is Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1D. Says there shall be no unsportsmanlike conduct, yada, yada, yada. Any violent gesture which shall include but not be limited to a throat slash, simulating firing or brandishing a gun, or using the nose wipe gesture, or an act that is sexually suggestive or offensive. So all of those things are being banned and can result in a 15-yard penalty. Now, I know the brandishing a weapon or shooting a weapon, that's become a very popular celebration. That's a lot more easily recognized as a violent gesture. The nose wipe thing, I don't know how I feel about it, but not up to us. It's a 15-yard penalty now, and CeeDee Lamb will have to find a different way to celebrate.
He said he got plenty more in the bag.
Oh yeah, I feel like we saw some different things this past season, and he seems like a creative guy. So I'm looking forward to him having lots of reasons to celebrate. Oh, and as always, guys, we had to set this up just before we went live. So if there's any issues with the audio, if there's an echo, if you can't hear us, please let us know in the chat. And I guess they can hear us because Sadiqa said that they only doing that because of the Tush push BS. How do you feel about that?
The tush push, man, listen, I don't have no problem with it, but it isn't a football play. It's a rugby play. But at the end of the day, it's football. Stop them from getting the 4th and 2 or 3rd and 2 or whatever. Stop them from trying to play their game. You know what I mean? That's a part of defense and trying to figure that out. If you can keep them in where they can't do that, then you can keep them from doing it. You know what I mean? It's just playing football at the end of the day. If they do ban it, that would be crazy. I don't think they would. But they could do things like, you know, I mean, you can't push from behind. I think that's the new rule they're trying to implement. You can't push the quarterback from behind. So if you can't push the quarterback from behind, I think that'll eliminate a lot of that.
Here's the thing, though. They would have to define pushing. Because, like, if I push someone with my hands, that's obvious, right?
Mhm.
But if I turn around and fall against them, is that still pushing the quarterback? See?
They'd have to go into depth with that.
Now, here's something somebody said. They were like, okay, if the defense wasn't allowed to line up the same way, and you could get like the whole defense behind like their zero tech or one tech and push them, then they feel like it would be fair.
Mhm.
Do you think that would be a fair way to match it? Like allow the defense to line up in a way where they could push their strongest guy? Like, you think that'd be that would lead to a lot of hurt people, I think.
And I think that's why they're trying to.
You're like, that's why they're not doing that.
But yeah, if they can't push the quarterback from behind, I think that eliminate a lot of that falling forward. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it is the quarterback gets stood up, and the people from behind are the ones that really guide him to where he needs to go. So,
or they make a bridge, and he like I feel like we've seen Jalen Hurts like just walk over his own lineman, like yeah, because they're like making a bridge like over the line to gain or over the into the end zone or something. It's really interesting how they've used that.
Rugby, man, working as a team, like that's one thing I can say about rugby. It's similar to football, but like as far as goal line and short yardage, that's great to use type of formation, things like that.
Yeah. So we're talking about NFL stuff. Let me ask you something I've always been curious about when it comes to you. Are you a Cowboys fan because you're a Cowboys fan, or are you a Cowboys fan because you're supporting the team that your brother is on?
Oh, no, I'm a Cowboys fan since the beginning.
Since the beginning? Yeah. So, like, what are your earliest memories of being a Cowboys fan? Like, what really pulled you in and said, this is why this is my team?
Honestly, love and hate relationship with Tony Romo. Love hate.
Tony Romo era fan. Okay.
But yeah, man, Romo was a guy that, like, you know what I mean, when he was on, he was on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? I like the defense, D-Ware.
Okay.
Marion Barber, that was the guy I really loved. I was definitely a big Marion Barber fan. Big DeMarco Murray. And yeah, just Cowboys. My dad was a fan. My uncle was a fan. So it was just really like growing up, that's what we watched. And yeah, it was some hard times for sure. It was some hard times. But yeah, I've always been loyal to my teams, man. Always been loyal. And when Micah came here, it was just the icing on the cake because I was contemplating. I said, if he was on the board and we didn't take him, it was going to be a huge issue for me because I felt like he was exactly what we needed. And he's exactly what we needed.
So when you say that, like, a lot of people were surprised at the way Micah ended up being used by the defense. Was that a surprise to you? Or when you say you knew he was exactly what they needed, you kind of had in mind that he was capable of being moved around and used in so many ways?
Yeah.
You already saw that. You envisioned it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't necessarily think he was going to play DN. I thought he was going to be a linebacker the whole time. Okay. But I knew the way he could blitz, he was going to be a factor rushing the passer. Like, he's always been a factor rushing the passer. He played DN in high school. That was the thing. I think, first time he ever played DN, he had like 22 sacks in the season. It was just natural for him. So, Penn State made him a linebacker. He ended up being great at that. And I really
feel like he would have been great anywhere, right?
Yeah. You know? Literally. He's probably my brother's probably the only person I ever seen, like, whatever he did, he just was good at it.
So what happened recently with all the buzz online? It felt like there was a day where everybody was talking about how Micah's deal was about to happen. And then all of a sudden, everything just went quiet.
Speculation, man.
Speculation?
Yeah.
Do you think they were encouraged to keep to like wait it out or keep things quiet?
It's just, can't really go into too much detail, but when people, it's three sides,
Three sides.
Yeah, it's three sides. You got your agent, you got the player, and then you got the organization. And Jerry, being the type of person he is, family, organization, I think they like to deal directly with their star players. And that's just, I think there's just miscommunication there.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, and you don't have to confirm or deny, but when you say there's three sides and that Jerry likes dealing directly with his players, what I'm hearing is that there were some talks directly between Jerry and Micah, and then maybe the agent jumped in and kind of was like, "Hey, I should be involved in this."
I mean, the agent's always going to be involved. Mike is not going to do anything without the agent.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? It's just talks. You know what I mean? Talks. And, you know what I mean? That's just what it is. It's talks. And it just got me excited that, you know what I mean, the Cowboys are moving better than previously, you know what I mean?
They've been moving different this offseason.
Yeah. And that's what, you know what I mean? I try to get that out there a little bit. And, you know what I mean? People just took it and ran with it.
No, they have been moving different. And it sounds like even based on what you're saying, there's still a lot of reason to be excited because there have been people talking about like trading Micah and everything.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
yeah, I really wanted to do
me too. I'm just like, this is bananas. So it sounds like there's still good reason to be excited, but just people need to be a little patient as well.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's negotiations, you know what I'm saying? Like, they already have a blueprint of how the deal should be.
Okay.
So from there, it's just
fine print, detail.
Yeah, numbers, years, all of that. You know what I mean? And once all that comes together, I think everybody's going to be happy when the deal's done.
Good. I like to hear that. Now, let me tell you something, and you may not like this, but when I first started hearing about you, it took me forever to even figure out who you were, because literally everybody who referred to you as Micah's brother. And like I couldn't even find out I couldn't even find out your name to Google you. Because it was something you had said or done, and people were like, Micah's brother. And I was like, who is this guy? And I'm just curious, how does that make you feel that so many people have boiled down your identity to your Micah's brother?
Oh man, that's crazy. But I mean, I understand. Like, I wasn't really around in the beginning. So like I get it. Like I wasn't really around like that. So when people finally started to find out who I really was and things like that, they thought I was my dad at first. It's crazy because we got the same name. And Micah had to correct him on that. I think he had tried to troll me on something, and yeah, everybody thought I was my dad, and yeah, he had to correct him. Like, no, that's my.
Like, why are you talking to your dad like that? Hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like a big thing in the media too. That was like crazy. And then after that, people started figuring out who I was, things like that. And then, you know, Micah's brother is crazy. You know what I mean? I understand, like, that's how you kind of got to name me because y'all don't know my name. But yeah, I mean, Terrence Parsons, I'm the older brother. And honestly, growing up, it's just, I've never been a hater. I love Micah. I'm proud of everything he's done. I never try to take his shine. I don't even try to get fame for what I do. You know what I mean? I just try to get, you know what I mean, my opinion out there. Been doing it. When I went viral, it was crazy because I never did anything different from what I've always done. Always been a big fan. Always been a football fan. Always critique my team when we're not doing well. And, you know what I mean, to blow up over something that they perceived as negative is crazy because it wasn't even negative. I thought it was, yeah, I mean, what was best for that and the team, to be honest. I probably should have said it a little better, but
with you being someone who's always been a fan and always had an opinion, you probably didn't even look at it as something that should go viral.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dang, for that, that's viral for that. For all the things that I did, viral for that was crazy.
That's what happens when you're so closely connected to the Cowboys, especially this time of year. People will look for anything they can use to make a headline.
Sure.
The storylines start to dry up a little bit, so I'm sure you know that now. So when it comes to who you are, what do you think people get wrong about you by viewing you through that lens? Like they look at you as Micah's brother, they look for anything that you might say about him or the team. But when it comes to who you really are as a person, what do you think that they're missing by only looking at that side of your persona?
That I talk too much and that like probably, and they think I'm a bias probably. But like really, I'm not biased. Like I watch a lot of football, different teams. I got favorite players on different teams. I got favorite players on our rivals teams. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? We gotta.
Is Keon Coleman one of them? Do you still follow him?
So it's just like it's just being a fan of the sport. When you're a fan of the sport, it's just like I feel like you look at the game from a different way. Like people say like I try to give excuses for players. I listen, excuses, facts. I only give facts. I only speak in facts. Like I don't say anything that should be like, oh, that's just his opinion. You're always going to be able to fact check it because I'm not going to be a biased fan. I think those are the worst. I like having an open mind. So like any type of discussions, I'm open with it. If you come with me with facts, I can't deny facts. And that's how I like to talk football. And I think people really think that I'm only, relevant because of Micah. And that might be true to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, people make it to where y'all are every day by just, talking football, So it's just like if you're talking real football, people are gonna follow you regardless. And that's just what I try to do.
Yeah, I think the bias accusations come anytime you present nuance about players. There comes that rumor of bias because even with me, I try to like I've never been a professional NFL football player before, right? But I have played a contact sport. We competed on an international level, so I've been on a team that was like lower in ranking and didn't make the playoffs. I've been on a team that was higher in ranking, top 10 in the world. We're traveling to different countries and playing. I coached a team. I've coached men. I've coached women. And so when I talk about how, something that happens in a player's life might affect them on the field, or why forcing a player to lose tremendous amounts of weight in a very short amount of time might affect their abilities on the field or things like that, people are like, oh, you're just being soft. You're a woman. You're going soft on them, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, I'm speaking from the perspective of a coach and trainer about how things might happen and how certain injuries and how certain changes physiologically or emotionally can really affect players. But I think people don't see it that way. They don't like to think about the nuance. They just want to be like,
that's literally the reason why like I started my podcast, literally to give like people like that inside view of like the player's life, an athlete's life, and like give them that view that they don't normally get to see or hear about for real.
what's the name of your podcast for people who don't know?
Unwanted opinion.
Unwanted opinion. And so y'all talk a little bit more in detail about players' lives and kind of the side that doesn't get discussed with X's and O's.
Yes.
So how often do y'all like put out episodes?
We're gonna do it more and more often as the season gets around. But right now we're focused on like basketball. Right now we're on an app called Playback. We're doing like live streams of basketball games. And yeah, we're trying to get that popping before the playoffs start.
So when y'all do the live broadcast on Playback, is it like color commentary, or do you do some of the talks that you do on Unwanted Opinion where you talk about what's going on with players and a little bit more nuance?
Yeah, we do
all of it.
Yeah, we're doing
okay. I'm about to check it out. I've seen y'all post about it, but I haven't seen any of the actual episodes. It's been a busy month for everybody, y'all.
It's like call it like a bar talk. You know what I mean? We're coming watching the game. We're just talking about anything. You know what I mean? We're playing trivia games, things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
And y'all actually have the game on the screen. Yes. So it's not like some live broadcasts where it's like if people are watching y'all, they don't see the game. Yeah. It's like y'all have the game on the same screen with y'all talking. That's what Playback allows y'all to do. Yes. So it's kind of like a different kind of watch along.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's pretty dope because that is kind of the frustrating thing about some watch alongs. It's like, all right, I got to have one screen over here and then y'all over here and audio here and audio there. So that's pretty cool. But real quick, I'm gonna tell them why I brought up Keon Coleman earlier when you were talking about being a fan of other players. First time I met this guy, y'all, it was last year when I was doing draft coverage with Law, who's in the back here. Hello, Law Nation. I know y'all can't see him, but he's right there. Producer Law today. But I was doing draft coverage with Law, and there was just this guy who was buying everybody's shots and was pounding the table for Keon Coleman. Like just wanted Keon Coleman with the Cowboys so bad. And so every time somebody was like, you want a shot? And I was like, sure. And I was like, oh, is that guy getting his shots again? Oh, yeah. And I did not know who he was. I was just like, he's that guy who really likes Keon Coleman. It wasn't until the end of the night you were about to spill your drink, and it was in your hand, but it was falling, and I literally walked up to you to tip it upright, and I heard you say something, and your cadence sounded exactly like Micah's, like for like probably like 2.5 seconds, and you said something about your brother, and I was just like, Oh my God. I just realized who you were. So I say that to say, like, yes, this guy's a sports fan through and through. He will go to the draft parties. He will talk about the draft prospects. He has his favorites. So before we get off of here, because we're gonna get into some deeper topics after this live. So this live is just for fun for you guys, and then we're going to have like a more in-depth interview that's gonna air later. So if y'all want any questions to be asked, you can throw them in the chat right now. You can throw them in the comments. Y'all probably have about 10-20 minutes after this is over for us to get to your questions. But just some rapid fire stuff that I want to throw out at you just for fun before we get off here. Dream podcast co-host. If you could do a show with anybody, who would it be?
That's hard because I got two of them.
Name two.
Definitely Gilly the Kid. And Shannon Sharp for sure.
Okay, Gilly the Kid. Shannon Sharp, really?
Yeah, I like Shannon.
Okay, you like him. Some people are hot and cold with Shannon. What do you think about the people who don't like him? Who are like,
Cause he keep it real. You know what I'm saying?
You think that's why they don't like him?
Yeah. I mean, you can't please everybody. You know
Okay.
I mean? So when you keep it real, sometimes people think he keep it too real. And then, you know what I mean? He's southern with it. I like him, bro. I like Shannon. You know what I mean? He always got the stories. And yeah, he just really remind you of somebody's uncle, for real. Like, really remind you of somebody's uncle.
I do call him Unc.
Yeah, I love that guy, man. And he keep it real about the Cowboys, so I understand why, you know what I mean, Cowboys fans don't like him. You know what I mean? I'll be having to get a little hot with him sometimes too, like, come on, Shannon, like,
Sometimes he does go a little bit far, a little bit. For the most part, I like him. I understand the criticism, but for the most part, I like him. Yeah, so sure. I dig it. Who do you think people are sleeping on in the NFL?
Right now, Jalen Tolbert. Because I was just having a conversation earlier with somebody that said Jalen Tolbert shouldn't be on the team. I'm just like, bro, like,
shouldn't be on the team.
Shouldn't even be on the team.
Wow. I can understand the people who say he's not the number two. Yeah, like I think he still has some things to prove, but shouldn't be on the team. That's crazy. Wild. Yeah. What do you feel? How do you feel about the people who say that like he's just taking too long to walk through the door? Just like what they expected from him, he's taking so long to get there.
I say sometimes they gotta be like that. Number one. I mean, obviously he was a second round pick, but if you looked at his whole journey, you know what I mean? He wasn't always a wide receiver. He wasn't always a football player. So it's just like to draft him at the second round pick, he was already a project. You know what I'm saying? If the Cowboys don't draft him at number 2, I don't think he goes number 2 in the second round. So that's just my take with that. I think since he's been here, he's improved every single year. And I think that he's going to continue to improve. And I think I was just telling somebody, I think he reminds me of like a Miles Austin in terms of like trajectory, how he's been improving. I think that we can definitely get some prime years out of him. He has a good connection with that. And that's what that video was earlier that he had dropped. He was throwing about Jalen Tolbert. I was like, yeah, like Jalen Turber's working. You know what I mean? When you got a guy that's working, you know what I mean? He's going to be good. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of when.
Those two always seem to be connected in the offseason.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And when you got connection with your quarterback, it gives you that room to really be able to take off. It's just a matter of when. And we saw the flashes last year. I know I did. So, you know what I mean? A full year with Dak this year, hopefully. And I think he's going to have a better year than even last year. And if he has a better year than last year, he's going to be a number 2.
I think a lot of people are going to have a better year than last year.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about our running back situation? There's some people who are saying that Shoddy is a better coach in terms of finding usage for people like Deuce Vaughn. What do you see when it comes to that?
I can't really speak too much of like how he's going to coach because, you know, I mean, we haven't seen it. Hopefully he a little different from what he's been in the past. Well, not a little bit, a lot different. You know what I mean? Mix and match, learn. I think him being in a bunch of different systems and a bunch of different head coaches and being able to take and to put his own thing together, I think that's going to be good. And I want to see it because he brought in a great coaching staff. And I want to see it on the field. I can't wait for training camp. Meeting him, speaking to him, it seems like he knows exactly what he's talking about. And shout out to Law. Uh, Law was on him about, you know what I mean, team chemistry, you know what I mean, and that's what I really wanted to know too, and that's what I said, like, yeah, like, what are you going to do to like get these guys, you know what I mean, to play for one another, like for real, like that's what it's going to take. You know what I mean, when in the play, you know what I mean, in those big games when you see guys, yeah, I mean, arguing or whatever the case may be, looking away, walking away, like when you a real team, and like she said earlier, like she's been a part of winning teams, I've been a part of winning teams. When you're a real team and you're playing for the guy next to you, you know what I mean? Being down 2 scores don't mean that much. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Being down 2 scores, you know what I mean? If it happens, it happens. But like you're not from there, you know what I mean? You're not downhill. You know what I mean? You know, like, hey, you know what I mean, we're still in this. You know what I mean? All we need is really one good drive. You know what I mean? You don't see the snowball effect that you see in the team. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you kind of like really see what a team is. Like when you see us go down 14-0 and then you just see the defense just keep giving it up, keep giving it. That's not, they're not playing for one another. You know what I mean? They're not doing their jobs. Like, I don't know what's going on out there. And I think that's where it starts. We have the talent on the team. Obviously, we could have more talent on the team, but the talent to win and like make the playoffs, at least we have that talent. And I always tell people,
I agree with you there.
I always tell people, once the playoffs hit, anything can happen. You know, and you know what I mean, obviously it's not always likely, but you know what I mean, I've been around. I've seen the Giants. They didn't have the best talent, but you know, they had a brotherhood, you know what I mean? They played for one another, and when it came down to it, they had a defense that could get to the quarterback, and that's what you really need to win. And we have that. And it's gonna come down to playing for one another, doing our jobs, and just coaching. You know what I mean? Making sure the coaches is doing their jobs and scheming and putting these players in the best positions to win. And I feel like a lot of that's been lacking.
So we just got to be patient and see what happens.
Man, patient.
Real quick, I'm going to holler at Chris. Chris calls me wifey. Chris, he said he don't like how you looking at me. He's not even looking at me, Chris.
At all, for real.
Chill out. I'm like looking dead in his eyes. He's not looking at me.
I'm looking at me.
But good morning, however. Thank you for joining the stream, Chris. And hi to Kelvin. And thanks for sticking around, Sadiqa. But yeah, he's good. He's good. We're good. So what video games are you playing these days?
A lot of Madden.
A lot of Madden.
2K.
Okay.
WWE just dropped, so we've been playing a little bit of that.
Favorite male wrestler?
Ooh. All time? We going all
Sure.
time. If we're going all time, it gotta be Stone Cold.
Okay.
Gotta be Stone Cold.
Favorite female wrestler?
I'm with Nash. She went to wrestling, but understand it. Rousey.
Okay.
For sure. I like Rousey.
Interesting.
Ronda, man. I thought she was a dog fighter too. I thought she was gonna make a comeback. I was sick. But I get it though. You don't understand like that. That can be traumatizing.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't see that fight? Yo.
Wait, the one where she was it the one? Am I thinking
first L? Her very
where
first
she got
one.
kicked in the face?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Traumatized.
I did see that. Yeah.
For sure. I get it.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel for sure.
How do you feel about the new Daredevil? Have you been watching it?
I haven't watched it, but I'm definitely gonna do it. I thought the last one was fire, so
yeah.
If it can top that, man.
I've heard mixed reviews on the new one. I like it, but I like a good storyline. I don't mind things that take a little bit of time to develop.
Yeah.
Are you a development arc person? Like you like when a player has to go from like starting from the bottom and kind of like train and get better? Things have to unfold.
I would definitely respect the grind. I definitely get a whole newfound level of respect for it. Because I feel that. I've been there.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. That's one of the reasons I like anime so much, because I just feel like those stories like really resonate with that part of me. Okay. Who do you think is overhyped in the NFL?
Jalen Hurts.
Really?
I like him. I I like him. That's the crazy part. Like I like him. I like his story. Like when you say that, I love his
I
story.
do like his story
Um,
too.
I think he's a good football player, but I do think he's overhyped for sure.
Why do you say that? Are you one of the people who thinks that the system that he plays in does a lot more for him than he does for the team?
I just think he's in a situation. He's in a very good situation. That is hard to really mess up.
He is in a good
You know what I mean?
situation.
It's hard to mess up.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? I can't say system because you know what I mean he's played in a bunch of different systems, but it's team, man. Team football wins games. You watch their interviews, team football. You know, players, even their players, you know what I mean, outside the team, you know what I mean, fuck the post game, you know what I mean, you see the players now, you know what I mean, team, you know what I mean, just you can just see really team oriented, you know what I mean, even when you know what I mean, you can kind of tell that there's arguments going on. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's team. You know what I mean. At the end of the day, it's team.
Always comes back to that.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, you're not always gonna get along. You know what I mean. You're not always gonna get along with your family. So them arguments, some fights are gonna happen. That's competitiveness. That's drive to win. But at the end of the day, you know, what I mean, the main thing is the main thing, winning. And
Exactly.
that's yeah, I mean, and I give Jalen Hurts all the credit to that. Yeah, I mean, to win consistently is hard to do. I mean, with that team, it's a little easier to do. But I do give him credit because at the end of the day, when the lights are the brightest, and you know what I mean, his team needs him to pull through. A lot of times he does pull through. He does make plays. He does do things that help them win football games. So I do respect that. I think, like I said, I think he's a good player, but the overhype I think is definitely there. Definitely there. I don't think he's a top five quarterback in this league. He has the resume to say he's a top five. Say that. He has a resume to say top five. But as far as ability goes, he's not a top five quarterback in this
What
league.
abilities do you think he needs to get better at?
Just watching, watching that O line and the receivers, you could just tell that like you know that he's just not all the way there with his progressions, his
Mm,
uh his anticipation to throw. Like
okay.
when you have a clean pocket, like you have a clean pocket and you're sitting there, and you're sitting there, and you're sitting there, and you can't find nobody to throw to, that means pre-snap, you didn't even have an idea. Like if you did have an idea, the defense took it away. And if the defense had an idea and they took it away and you couldn't go to immediately to your second or third read, knowing what the defense is, that's a problem in year five? Problem. But you
Mm,
know what I mean, his offensive line is good and he has legs. So like, yeah, I mean he can get out of those type of situations. But at the same time, he's taking a lot of clean pocket sacks. And good quarterbacks don't necessarily do that. Um and you know, just reading coverages, taking advantages of matchups. I don't think he does that necessarily well, but his players are so good around him, like it doesn't you can't really tell. All I'm saying is for the talent that he has around him, 3,800 yards and 23 touchdowns is kind of crazy for a career high. Kind of crazy. Um, we've seen quarterbacks that we think of as less do better with around good talent. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, I think a couple more lists to get out there. I have to think on it, but yeah, man.
I can't be mad at the take when you have facts to back it up. Like you actually brought some serious examples, which a lot of people don't do. Some people would
Yeah,
just be like,
because I really
"Oh, if you
watched the
just look at him, he
game.
sucks," and it's like, okay, elaborate. But
Yeah,
no,
because
you
like I
broke it
really
down.
watched the games. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, like I really watch the games. I watch the Eagles as much as I watch the Cowboys. You know what I mean? I game plan myself. Like when we play the Eagles, I expect to see certain things that we do. You know what I mean? Um so like when I watch the Eagles and I'm like I see them struggling, I'm like, they're really only struggling because of him. You know what I mean? So you can say that in a lot of situations, but like with the Eagles, like I said, like the talent is so good over there. You see the clean pockets, you see the receivers separate, you see the one-on-one matchups that like a guy like Dak would take advantage of. You know what I mean? You put Dak in that Eagles offense, oh my goodness.
I feel
For
like
real.
that's
He
been
might
the
throw for
debate for the
5,000
longest
yards.
time.
He might throw for 5,000 yards, and people don't understand that. Like, look what he's done with the talent that he has. And outside the CD, it's not really good. MVP caliber season, you don't make that up. If you put him with that offense, all that time,
That
those
MVP caliber
receivers.
performance was basically him and CD.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Imagine if you had like just him and CD. Imagine if you had a Devontae Smith, a Dallas Goddard, a better offensive line,
So you
a
think it's
running
the
back.
talent more than the coaching that's making the difference with the Cowboys?
Um,
Because like
it's
I
both.
hear so many
It's
arguments
both.
for, okay, if we had someone who could come up with a better run scheme,
Yeah,
if we had someone who could just design better plays in terms of the routes that the receivers
yeah,
are running. And so it's like, okay, I'm like, I hear that, but then I also see things
yeah.
like just when it comes to decision making.
That's what it comes down to. Where I said we have the talent to win, like because we have the
Okay.
talent to win. I'm not saying we have the talent to win a Super Bowl because you know what I mean that's hard, but we have the talent to win and beat good teams on any given Sunday. You know, it's just it comes down to coaching. You know, scheme, and it's been lacking. You know what I mean? We haven't had a real offensive scheme since Kellen Moore. And it's crazy because I thought Kellen Moore wasn't all that, but like after
A
he
lot of people
left,
thought he wasn't
you
on
know
that.
what I mean? I mean, me personally, I know he wasn't
I
all
did
that,
expect
but
more after he left.
yeah, I expected
And I
more.
meant to end this already, but we're having a good conversation. I expected more after he left, right? Because a lot of the things that he did, I did not like.
But he
Um,
did good things too.
yeah, but then he did do some good things, especially like when you look at when his creativity actually worked,
Mm-hmm.
and what we saw in terms of stats. I just think the things that he did creatively and in terms of stats didn't always translate to the smartest decisions that were needed to win, because a lot of the games that the Cowboys ended up losing, and I know this didn't apply to the playoffs, y'all, but a lot of the games the Cowboys did end up losing, they weren't lost by a huge margin. It was like, a possession here, a possession there, a couple of different decisions could have changed the outcome. And that's what frustrated me. It's like, okay, clearly you're not dumb, Kellen Moore, but you just make the worst decisions at the worst times.
Now, I feel you on that, and I was all the way 100 with you, but then being a player, like a brother of a player, and then you know what I mean, speaking with a bunch of different other players, you start to kind of like understand like there's a lot of politics that come with this game.
Oh, so I've heard.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of politics that come with this game. So then like I can't really blame coordinators. Well, you can, because at the end of the day, nobody's gonna argue with results. And I think Mike McCarthy kind of did that in 2023.
Did what?
Did things that he go against the politics a little bit. You know what I mean? Because
Mm,
CD wasn't supposed to have the year that he was supposed to have for real. Not really. Not really.
okay.
Not really. They didn't want him to do that
Okay.
because then they would have to pay him what they had to pay him. You know what I'm saying? So like
That would suggest that the leadership of the Cowboys is willing to sacrifice success for the sake of not having to
sometimes,
give
yeah.
up.
Sometimes, yeah. Situations, yes. In certain situations, yes.
You believe that to be the case based on
Listen, I believe that to be the case.
okay.
Listen, I'm gonna just say like this: like, even if you go back to like before Dad got paid, we ran the ball a lot more. When Dad got paid, you have to be the guy now, and it's just not fair to him. It was fine when he had weapons, but the fact that he doesn't have weapons anymore, like when he had Amari Cooper and you know what I mean, Dalton Schultz was doing the things that he was doing, and we had a run game when they chose to run the ball. You know what I mean, between Zeke and Pollard when Zeke was healthy. You kind of saw the, you know what I mean, you saw the success that we could have, and I mean, once that got paid and the weapons got bad, now they're expecting him to do more with less, and it's just not kind of fair to him.
Are the weapons bad or are they misused? And here's what I mean by that.
Both.
Because like Brandon Cooks, now with the Saints, my other team, shout out to him.
He's definitely not bad.
Not bad, but he was used in some weird ways. Like someone called him this past season, someone called him the hitch god, and it broke my heart. Because I'm like, that is not how he's supposed to be used. That's not his strengths. And then watching things like Kevontae Turpin going deep down the sideline, I'm just like, whose idea was this? So that's kind of what makes me think like, okay, sometimes the positions these players are put in is not like really putting them in the best light. It's not playing to their strengths. And then it's like you have situations with like with Jonathan Mingo, I feel like there's so many expectations put on him because the Cowboys lost the fourth round pick to get him. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair in terms of what we can all see when we go back and look at his old film and what it looks like he needs to do in order to take his next steps as a receiver. I'm like, he put what he put on film. It's not his fault that the Cowboys gave up what a lot of people have determined to be way
When
too much for
people
him.
listen, like when people understand, like coming out of college, Jonathan Mingo was good.
Right.
You know, Jonathan Mingo, I think he had like a first or second round grade. So when you and people don't understand situations in the NFL, bro, like just because I'm a good player doesn't mean that just because I go here, I'm gonna be a good player. Like if the scheme's not right for me, if I'm not being used the right way, if the coach doesn't really like me, or you know what I mean, put me in positions where I can succeed, I'm not gonna have tremendous success. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a lot of the NFL. You know, they go to organizations that either don't know how to use them or have coaching staffs that don't really know how to use them, and they suffer for it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with Jonathan Mingo. I just think that you know what I mean he has to get in a better situation. Hopefully this situation is a better situation for him. But you have to give him a off season and some training, you know what I mean, to learn the
Agreed.
playbook and all
Agreed.
that, you know what I mean, determine that. So, you know what I mean, we're gonna see Jonathan Mingo this year. I think he's gonna play. I can't tell you what he's gonna be. I mean, that's gonna be all the way up to Jonathan Mingo. But I'm never knocking a player getting a fresh start because that fresh start might be what that player needs.
Facts. Like several people the Cowboys have picked up
Yeah.
this offseason. It'll be really interesting to see between all the new acquisitions, some of the people that have been lost, and the new coaches, what this team ends up looking like. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of predictions already being made, but I'm personally in the camp that there's no way we're going to know right now at this point in the year.
What?
Just like what the team's going to be like.
I
Like
think we're
there's
gonna make the playoffs.
You think we're going to make
I think we're
playoffs?
gonna make the playoffs.
Some people are predicting like less than 10 wins.
I think that we don't have anything less than 10 months. As long as we stay healthy, I don't think we have
So
anything
you're
less than
saying 10 or
months.
more making the
Yeah.
playoffs. That's what okay.
Listen,
I'm
Dak,
listening.
bro, he's just if he's healthy,
Mhm.
we usually go to the playoffs. Um,
That's a good point.
it's gonna come down to running the ball. We have to run the ball. Last year we didn't run the ball. We tried to Dak 60 million. We want to throw the ball 60 times. It's crazy. Um, we got to run the ball. I think, and Shadi, he's going to put emphasis on that. And I think when we start running the ball and we have the play action, you know what I mean, Dak doesn't have to do everything. You're going to see a better version of Dak and the team, offense in general. I don't think the offensive line's bad. I'm glad we got a better offensive line coach. I'm really interested to see the run game and the scheme. That's what it's going to come
Me
down
too.
to. It's going to come down to the run game and the scheme. You know what I mean? We have the players. Even if you know what I mean, if we go into the draft and don't get not one single weapon, I'm going to be highly upset. But at the end of the day,
I don't even want to think about them doing that.
man, I don't either. But at the end of the day, if we're going to run the ball and be successful running the ball, Dak is going to be successful because, yeah, you're going to have CD. I do think that Jalen Tolbert's going to take another step. Jonathan Mingo can definitely be a third option. Especially when you're running the ball. When you're running the ball, you're putting yourself in good situations. When you're putting yourself in good situations, you're not having to go out of your norm and try to make things happen. You know, you can play within your game. And if you can play within your game, you can kind of do what the Commanders did, you know, hold the ball. What we used to do in 2016, 2014, play ball control and, you know, let your defense get rest and keep them off the field. And we have a defense that can actually get off the field and play really well at times. And we can master that. We can really have a good team. But it's going to come down to team ball. It's not going to be, oh, we have a great team and we can just go out there and beat everybody. It's going to be, oh, scheme, physicality, and defense is what wins these games. That's what it's going to have to be.
Just for reference, y'all, Dak Prescott almost never loses when the rushing attack has 35 snaps or more. So it's like just even just going by that number. I don't remember what the number was for his career, but it's like a single digit number for games that he's lost when there's like a solid number of rushing snaps. So I'm just like, if I'm a coach and I'm looking at that, I'm like, all right, we need to run the ball.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm only screaming top tier numbers. I'm only screaming top tier weapons. If we're gonna keep making him have to pass the ball 40 times a game. If he has to pass the ball 40 times a game with the current structure of the lineup, we're not gonna be successful. It was like that last year. I thought the same way last year. I said, okay, well, running back by committee, I'm cool with that. If we're gonna actually run the ball 35 times a game. Hey, when we started running the ball last year, what we started doing? Winning.
Exactly.
So it's just like, for people who say the offensive line's not good enough and things like, it's definitely good enough. It's going to come down to scheme,
and they're going to get better too.
Exactly.
Like yes, the offensive line needed to develop a little bit, but I wouldn't say that they were terrible.
Exactly.
So
when we ran the ball and wanted to run the ball, Rico had his best games and we had our best games. And Cooper Rush was more efficient. It's the same thing that would happen with Dak. Like, if we ran the ball a lot more and forced the defense to come at it too high and things like that, and gave Dak that play action, the one-on-ones and things like that, and now you can't double CD Lamb, I promise you the everything will open up. And you know what I mean? That's why I'm not mad at the people who want, you know what I mean, Ashton Dempsey or running back. If we take running back in the first round, I'm fine with that if we're actually gonna run the ball, you know. But like I said, if we're gonna pass it 40 times a game, we got to get weapons.
All right, so I'm gonna make one more point, and then we'll wrap up this part. But I think the thing that kind of scares me about the prospect of them taking a running back in the first round is that they don't usually look at dudes as dudes. Like the dudes who stand out, they don't look at them as this is a guy who stands out. They just look for like, does a player check these boxes? Can they run routes? Can they pass block? Boom, boom, boom. And it's almost like they just look for a player who matches all those qualities. And I'm saying this based on like when you hear them talk about some of the picks that they've made that people are less excited about, you can kind of tell they don't necessarily look at like, okay, this guy is worth like 3 of this guy. They just look at it like, okay, we need a running back who can do these things. This running back can do these things. And yeah, it's just kind of weird how they talk about players sometimes. So
I think I feel like in this class, with the things that we need, we almost can't miss because there's guys in
such a deep running back class.
Yeah, running back, and I feel like wide receiver. You know what I mean? I feel like we should go wide receiver in the first round, and I feel like there's literally 3-4 guys that are going to check every box. And that's why like I want to go receiver first round because you don't want to miss out on those. Guys that check every box. You don't want to go in the second or third round and miss out on a guy that you could have had. I'd rather try my luck in the second round with a running back.
Cool. All right. So I said it earlier in this live portion, but we're going to end the live stream and we're going to dive deeper into Terrence Parsons' story. Real quick, one more question. I'm going to let you shout out your platforms. If you could, so like, let's say you woke up tomorrow and nobody remembered you were Micah Parsons' brother. You could wave a magic wand and be known for anything. What would you be known for?
Ooh, that's hard. Honestly, at this point in my life, this is a good dad, man.
Aw, that's such a good answer.
For real. Yeah, this point in my life, yeah, this is a good dad. Like, I want to see my sons do everything that I didn't do.
I love that answer. All right. Well, we'll talk about him being a good dad and everything else going on. Look out, like keep your notifications on for that interview. It's probably going to be sometime on Monday because we have a busy weekend ahead. So make sure you're following me and Law and everybody else on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, so you don't miss any of the pictures and videos from this weekend. We're going to have a good time. But for now, we're going to talk. You'll see it on Monday. So just keep those notifications on so you don't miss it. So I'm Jasmine Monet. This has been an episode of Bitches Love Sports.
T Parse Boy, Twitter, Unwanted Opinion, YouTube, TikTok, playback app that's new. Instagram, yeah, everything, man. We everywhere. Tune in. You're gonna love the content. We're having a bunch of guys come on the podcast. We're gonna have a bunch of exclusive interviews. Uh yeah, just stay tuned. A lot of good things coming.
Thanks for joining, y'all. See y'all next time.